Australia and India are among the closest allies in the world today. But we're also the biggest rivals when it comes to the cricketing pitch. Joining us to talk about the big summer of cricket that lies ahead and also the trajectory of India-Australia bilateral ties is Australian High Commissioner to India, Philip Green. High Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us. What about a game of cricket? So, High Commissioner, interesting time between the two countries. We're getting ready for the big Border Gavaskar Trophy. The women's team is also going to be flying to Australia. Exciting times. I'm catching my breath. You did pretty well in that friendly match.
Oh, you can bowl a bit.
Yeah,
maybe we could swap around a bit later on. You're keen to do it in your Indian colours. I don't have a cricket shirt at the moment. I've got a soccer one, but I hope that will do.
It does. It is the Australian colour, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about how Australia, how High Commissioner Philip Green is preparing for the big summer of cricket ahead.
Well, number one, I think it's now true that the biggest rivalry in global cricket is between Australia and India. And we've had a bit of success in recent times. I was there at Narendra Modi Stadium in November last year. We got lucky on that day, but everyone's really looking forward to this big summer of cricket in Australia, full test series. And, we're going to put some things around the cricket to make it even more attractive for Indians to come down, enjoy the cricket, and maybe do it a business on the side.
Right. Give us a sense of the kind of tourist footfalls you're expecting from India to Australia.
Well, we've already, the airlines are already putting on new airplanes to come across, and we hope those schedules will even follow after the cricket. We're very excited about the huge tourism opportunity that exists. Many Indians already make their way to Australia, but the cricket is a special opportunity to do that, and we're putting a range of just to make it worthwhile. People can come for the cricket but stay for the business.
Right. So there are 5 test matches, Border Gavaskar Trophy, 3 ODIs as part of the women's series.
Correct.
Give us a sense of the business activities that you plan around it, because today business and sports goes very well together.
Well, there'll be opportunities for Indian business. You a sense of it. We'll be putting on an innovation forum in Perth, one of our thriving great capitals. Great opportunity for Indian business there. An IT forum in Victoria around the test at the MCG. And in Brisbane, very special, Australia will be hosting the Olympics in 2032. India's a bidder for 2036. So we're putting on a sports business activity there so that India can get ready for the big option in 2036.
Right. On an average, if we were to ask you, what would be the kind of footfalls that you're expecting from India? Any numbers that you could share with us in terms of the visa applicants so far? So
we issue 350,000 visas for Indian tourists every year. That's in addition to 100,000 skilled people and 50 right here in the High Commission. We issue 500,000 visas every year. I can only imagine in this season that will be going up.
That'll be going up. Now, speaking about who's the favourite, India has not had a very good run recently against New Zealand. Australia are said to be the favourites. So what's your expectation from the Border Gavaskar Trophy?
Well, of course, history tells us that in this particular series, India is ahead of us. So we'll have to be on our best game. I mean, I know the tradition is to say that on bouncy pitches, places like Perth and Brisbane, Australia will have an advantage. And, of course, Cummins and the crew will be there. But India's now got some pretty good quicks themselves, Bumrah amongst them. So I think it's going to be very close. I will expect it to go down to the last or the second last test. So it should be a super season throughout.
Right. So who would be your favourite batsman?
Well, I think Travis Head. I mean, he was the hero of Narendra Modi Stadium. I will never forget that innings as far as I live. And so for me, very special player, still in very good form, great mental cricket mind as well as super skills.
Okay, what about India? Who's your favourite batsman in India?
Oh, well, I don't know if he's my favourite, but the one I fear the most is Virat Kohli. He's the one who worries me the most. He was, we were fortunate. He was got out in November, taking a nick onto the stumps. I'm not sure that we'll be so lucky in all of these 5 tests, and he's a really super player, so we'll be watching out.
Right, and what about bowlers? For example, I think Jasprit Bumrah is going to be really leading our pack there in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. What about bowlers on the Australian side?
Oh, well, I mean, I can't go past Cummins. He's not only a super bowler and a great sportsman, but an instinctive cricketing brain. And the way he has brought a special style of leadership to the Australian cricket team in recent years has really been phenomenal. So I'll be watching him in particular.
Okay, and about women's cricket, it's really come of age in India as well. We're talking about pay parity between women cricketers and male cricketers.
As we should be.
3 ODI matches that we're going to see.
Well, I think, you know, frankly, when I was a young man, young men and young women were very excited at their male cricketing heroes. Now we're seeing young men and young women being very excited about their female cricketing heroes. And, you know, extraordinary sportswomen like Alyssa Healy are really amongst the greats in Australian sport at the moment. People are very excited to see not only our men perform at the best, but also our women to have a go against the very formidable Indian team.
Any women cricketers from either side that you're actually looking out for?
I mean, Healy is certainly the one, and the Indian captain Gore is one that I've really been watching, and I think she's got some super skills, and I'll be really interested to see how she goes on Australian pitches.
Right. What more can we expect the BCCI and Cricket Australia to do together in terms of increasing the cricketing engagements between the two nations?
Well, I think that's a really good point. I mean, we sometimes talk about using cricket to get beyond cricket. Cricket's one of the traditional things that Australia and India have in common, but we're building a new relationship, which is a much deeper partnership on the strategic side, economically, and now with a very large number, 1 million or so, people of Indian origin living in Australia. So what Cricket Australia and we are trying to do is to grow that audience. Of course, people who are interested in cricket will want to be part of it, but I want all people from India and Australia, and particularly Australians of Indian origin, to take an interest in the cricket and the many activities that we'll put on around the cricket itself.
Right. Now, cricket is so close to our hearts. Cricket is so important for countries like Pakistan, England, New Zealand. Do you think cricket makes diplomacy easier, softens things up?
I don't think there's any question about that. You know, it's the easiest conversation opener, not just for me, but for all sorts of Australians who are seeking to do business in India. Of course, you know, my view is that affinity and friendship, English language and cricket and so on, that's always been there, and that's always been a positive. I always had great relations with other Indian ambassadors wherever I've been. But now we've got a true partnership. And we can start with cricket, but we need to get on and talk about critical mineral supply chains. We need to get on and talk about how the Indian diaspora in Australia can make a big contribution to trade and investment between our countries. We need to talk more about our strategic engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Cricket is a starter, but now we've got many more crucial things we need to do.
Speaking about the crucial things, what would be the growth in trade that you're expecting in calendar year 2024 over 23?
Oh, well, look, you know, what we have seen is a powerful growth over many years. So just let me give you this statistic. Over the last 5 years, India's exports to the world have grown 37%. Not bad. India's exports to Australia have grown 66%, nearly twice as fast. And there's a reason for that. You know, Australia has many of the materials and skills that India needs for the next phase of its growth, whether it's critical minerals to make your EV and battery minerals ambitions come true, whether it's Australian fibres, wool and cotton to make first-class clothing and rugs that can be sold to the world, or whether it's the capacity of our university sector to contribute to the skilling that India needs if it's going to meet its targets. So, you know, we think that Australian trade is a genuine part in India's Make in India journey.
Right. Now, speaking about the larger ambition to have a larger trade agreement, the CECA, where are we with that right now, and when do you expect to conclude it?
So as you know, we've got a first phase trade agreement. We call it ECTA. It's been going for about 18 months now. Successes are very remarkable. You look at sectors like India, where India, like autos, where India wants to be a big exporter. auto exports to Australia have increased 100% since CECA was in place. You know, apparel exports to Australia have increased by 20% since CECA was in place. So, you know, we think that this agreement is already delivering big results. But you're right, we don't want to finish there. I'm not going to have a timeline on concluding CECA, but we are very keen to move ahead. We've had a dozen or so rounds of negotiation already. We are well advanced, and I think we have the right framework now to be able to take the next step towards truly free trade.
All right. Now, coming back to the trade agreement, the ECTA, you've said that we've seen a strong jump in trade in exports of automobiles and textiles from India to Australia. What are some of the other sectors which you expect to gain in the year 2025?
Well, I think the one that would really make a transformational difference would be critical minerals. You know, we want India to succeed in its ambition to be a big manufacturer of electric vehicles and batteries. And Australia is the largest producer of the critical minerals that are required for that. We produce more than 50% of the lithium in the world. But we don't have a supply chain with India. And we need to work harder on making sure that the Australian offering is available to Indian major conglomerates, and I'm dead keen on that. And we also need to work hard at making sure that the intermediate processing from raw lithium in the ground is processed in Australia and India so you can make cells and batteries here. I think that would make a transformational difference to our economies, and we're working pretty hard, both me and my colleagues in the Indian government and business, to make that happen.
Right. Now, speaking about services, do you think the CECA will open up trade and services, movement of professionals in a big way?
So we're already seeing a lot more of that. We've recently opened windows for what we call mates, highly skilled Indian professionals, to be able to make their way to Australia. We now have a working holiday maker arrangement so that young Indians can spend some time on a holiday in Australia but also do a bit of work. Look, you know, India has many of the skills that not only Australia but many Western countries will need to prosper going forward. So, you know, we will use the mechanism we've got, and if necessary, additional ones, to make sure that we make the most of that Indian skilled opportunity.
And finally, let's end with cricket. We're looking at a big summer of cricket ahead, the Border Gavaskar Trophy and the Women's ODI series as well. What I would like to ask you, have you invited some of the big businessmen from India to attend those matches?